There are over 33,000 aftermarket-related crashes every year, and what your tire shop will never tell you is that 10 brands are responsible for a disproportionate number of those blowouts. I just went through 15 years of NHTSA complaint records, independent lab test results, and every major recall database, and 10 brands failed so consistently they should not be on any shelf. Tread separating at 4,500 miles. Steel belts corroding from the inside while the tire still looks brand new. One brand linked to 95 deaths that secretly settled lawsuits for years to avoid a recall. Today I'm exposing all 10. Douglas. Douglas tires are made by Goodyear and sold exclusively at Walmart. That Goodyear connection sounds reassuring. It is not. Goodyear builds Douglas to hit a Walmart price point, and the engineering compromises that make that price possible are exactly the ones that fail drivers between 20,000 and 30,000 miles, well before the 50,000-mile warranty Walmart advertises on the label. The documented failure pattern is accelerated cupping. Cupping is a scalloped, uneven wear pattern across the tread blocks that develops when the rubber compound is too soft to resist the deformation forces of normal driving. The result is a thumping, helicopter-like noise at highway speed that gets progressively worse over time. Most owners describe it as unbearable well before the warranty mileage is reached. That noise is not just uncomfortable. It means the tread blocks are bouncing off the road surface instead of maintaining continuous contact. Interrupted contact means reduced braking performance and reduced handling stability, exactly when you need them most. Multiple independent tire review sites consistently place Douglas in the bottom tier of budget tire evaluations, specifically citing noise and wear rate as the two most frequently reported owner complaints. Here's the detail your tire shop will never mention. Goodyear manufactures Douglas tires, but does not put the Goodyear name on them. When the company that built a product refuses to attach its own brand to it, that tells you everything you need to know about where that product sits in their quality hierarchy. Buy Douglas once and you will buy tires again sooner than you planned. Accelera. Accelera is an Indonesian brand that packages budget tires in aggressive performance branding, sporty tread patterns, enthusiast model names, marketing imagery aimed at drivers who want performance results without paying performance prices. The wet weather performance does not exist at any price. Tire Reviews, the independent tire testing and consumer review platform, tested the Accelera PHI against 192 rivals in the same performance category. It ranked 152nd. Their published conclusion was direct: do not fit this tire. AllTireTest.com, which aggregates results from independent professional magazine comparison tests, shows the Accelera PHI performing 29% below the test average in wet braking and nearly 15% below the average in wet handling. A 29% wet braking deficit is not a marginal difference. At 60 miles per hour in a rain emergency, that gap translates to a substantial amount of additional road required to stop the vehicle. That additional road may or may not be available. Owner reviews across Tire Reviews, Tire Rack, and Simple Tire describe the same experience across different vehicles and different drivers. Acceptable handling in dry conditions, then an abrupt and unwarned loss of grip the moment the road becomes wet. Multiple verified purchasers on Simple Tire report that the Accelera PHI cannot be balanced on road force machines. Simple Tire processed full returns on 2 consecutive sets of 4 tires with the same unresolvable balance defect. The construction inconsistency that makes a tire impossible to balance is not a user error. It is a manufacturing quality control failure. Westlake. Westlake is a Chinese brand under the ZC Rubber Group, widely used as factory-installed tires on travel trailers, RVs, and utility vehicles, and increasingly marketed to passenger car drivers through online retailers at prices that look attractive against mid-range alternatives. The documented failure pattern is tread separation while the tire remains fully inflated. This is not gradual wear. Owners across dozens of RV and trailer forums describe an identical sequence of events: correct inflation pressure, normal highway speed, and then the complete tread layer peels away from the casing while the tire body stays on the rim. The separated tread wraps around the undercarriage of the trailer, doing thousands of dollars of structural damage before the driver can bring the vehicle to a stop. Multiple cases matching this failure pattern exactly are on file with the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, including a 2021 Grand Design travel trailer with complete tread separation at just 4,500 miles. A Canadian Transport Canada investigation identified the root cause. Recalled Westlake light truck tires lacked gum strips. The rubber layer bonded between the steel belt cords that prevents moisture from infiltrating the belt structure and corroding the steel from the inside. The absence of this basic construction component is not a design refinement. It is a fundamental shortcut. Multiple RV manufacturers have since removed Westlake tires from their standard equipment lists entirely, switching to Goodyear Endurance tires in direct response to Westlake failure reports from their own customers. When the manufacturer of the product being towed by the tire no longer trusts the tire, that is the clearest possible signal. Goodyear G159, still on used RVs. This entry is specific and critically important for anyone buying, renting, or borrowing a used motorhome. The Goodyear G159 in size 275/70 R22.5 was manufactured from 1996 to 2003, primarily designed for low-speed commercial delivery vehicle applications, short routes, frequent stops, limited time at sustained highway speed. RV manufacturers then installed them on motorhomes that travel at 65 miles per hour for hours at a time. A tire engineered for delivery routes generates dangerous levels of internal heat under those sustained highway conditions. NHTSA documents confirm the G159 has been linked to 95 deaths and injuries since 1998. Goodyear settled at least 41 lawsuits over G159 crashes using confidential agreements that prevented NHTSA from receiving the complaint and crash data it needed to open a formal investigation. A federal judge ordered Goodyear to pay approximately $520,000 for concealing internal high-speed heat testing data from plaintiffs during litigation. Data that showed the tire reaching temperatures that Goodyear's own engineers acknowledged were consistent with tread separation. The Department of Justice subsequently opened a criminal investigation into Goodyear's handling of the G159. Goodyear finally recalled approximately 175,000 G159 tires in June 2022, 19 years after the last one was manufactured. Used motorhomes with these tires installed are still in active circulation. If you are purchasing, renting, or borrowing a used RV with 22.5-inch rims, check the sidewall markings before you drive it at highway speed. The recall happened. The tires did not all leave the road. Firestone Destination Series. Firestone's tread separation record is documented across 5 decades and 5 separate recall events. In August 2000, Bridgestone and Firestone recalled 14.4 million tires after NHTSA confirmed that tread separation failures on the Radial ATX, ATX2, and Wilderness AT lines were directly connected to 271 deaths and more than 500 injuries in the United States. An additional 46 people were killed in Venezuela, where Ford had quietly been replacing the same tires since 1999 without notifying American regulators. Congressional hearings established that both Ford and Firestone had internal data identifying the tread separation risk in 1996. 4 years before the public recall was announced. The tread separation pattern did not stop with that recall. In 2009, Firestone voluntarily recalled 127,000 FR380 tires for tread distortion and separation. In 2017, another Firestone recall covered 36,000 FS561 tires for the same documented defect. In 2018, a Bridgestone recall included Firestone FSS18 tires with exposed steel cord risks identified during road testing. The current Firestone destination truck and SUV tire line, the tires sold today at $120 to $180 per tire at Walmart and major retailers, is manufactured by Bridgestone but receives a lower tier of engineering investment than Bridgestone branded products from the same parent company. Bridgestone reserves its higher quality construction standards for the premium brand. Firestone gets a different allocation. That gap is not visible on the shelf. It shows up on the road. Kumho Ecsta series. Kumho is a South Korean manufacturer with over 60 years in production and wide availability at major North American retailers and on online platforms. The Ecsta series is specifically marketed as a performance tire at an accessible price, the positioning that attracts drivers who want genuine performance capability without paying Continental or Michelin prices. The gap between that positioning and the documented wet weather performance is the core problem. Across multiple structured comparison tests published by independent European and North American automotive media, the Kumho Ecsta series consistently places in the lower portion of the comparison field in wet braking and wet handling categories. The failure mode documented in owner reviews across Tire Rack, Discount Tire, and Tire Reviews is abrupt rather than progressive. Dry conditions produce handling that reviewers describe as competitive and acceptable for the price. Then the surface becomes wet, and the grip changes suddenly, without the gradual feedback that allows a driver to sense the approaching limit and reduce speed accordingly. Abrupt grip loss is the most dangerous characteristic a tire can have in real-world driving. Progressive grip reduction gives the driver a warning interval. Sudden grip loss in a corner or during an emergency braking event gives the driver nothing. At highway speeds, the additional stopping distance created by a tire with documented wet braking deficits can be the entire margin between an avoided accident and one that is not. The Ecsta price makes sense on paper. The wet weather performance data does not. Triangle. Triangle Tire is a Chinese manufacturer with one of the largest production volumes in the global budget tire market. The brand is sold widely through online retailers at prices that compete at the very bottom of the market, and the results from independent testing reflect exactly that position. The Triangle TR968, the brand's most widely available performance tire model, was evaluated by Tire Reviews in direct comparison against 192 competitors in the same tire category. It placed 179th. The primary documented failure areas are wet grip and wet braking. Owner reviews on Tire Rack and multiple tire retail platforms consistently report two patterns: wet traction that requires the driver to reduce speed significantly below normal conditions to maintain a safe margin, and tread wear that begins unevenly within the first 10,000 miles and accelerates from that point. The cost calculation that makes Triangle tires look like a smart decision at the point of purchase does not survive honest accounting across full ownership. A tire that wears unevenly requires earlier replacement. A tire that produces substantially longer wet stopping distances carries a risk cost that does not appear on any price tag. Mid-range alternatives from brands like Hankook, Nexen, or General Tire cost more per tire at purchase but deliver measurably better wet performance and longer, more even tread life. The total cost across 40,000 miles of realistic driving almost always favors the mid-range option over Triangle at any of their price points. Triangle also provides a minimal warranty, typically 2 months on some models, compared to the 40,000 to 60,000 mile warranties common among mid-range competitors. That warranty gap alone is a signal about what the manufacturer expects the product to deliver over time. A company confident in its product's durability does not need to limit the warranty to 60 days. Nankang. Nankang is a Taiwanese manufacturer with decades of production history and strong availability through online tire retailers at prices that sit between the cheapest budget options and mid-range alternatives from European and Japanese brands. That positioning attracts a specific type of buyer, someone who has done enough research to avoid the absolute cheapest tires, but has not investigated individual model performance data. Independent test results published across European automotive media place Nankang tires consistently in the lower half of comparison fields in wet braking and wet handling categories. The NS2 and AS1 all-season models, which generate the highest sales volume in North America, show wet braking distances between 10 and 20% longer than mid-range competitors at comparable price points in structured testing conducted by organizations with no financial relationship to any tire brand. The technical root cause is the rubber compound. Nankang formulations perform adequately on dry surfaces. The compound does not generate sufficient grip when wet. That difference is invisible when you look at the tire on the shelf. It is invisible during dry weather driving. It becomes visible during the exact scenario where a driver most needs the tire to perform: an emergency stop on a wet road, where the 10 to 20% stopping distance penalty is not a statistic but a real distance between the front of the car and whatever is in front of it. Nankang offers tires across multiple categories, and the brand markets itself on longevity and fun value. If price is the primary driver of your purchase decision, there are better performing options at the same price point from Hankook, Nexen, and Cooper that show consistently stronger wet performance results in the same independent tests where Nankang lands in the bottom half of the field. Carlisle. Carlisle tires appear on trailers, boat trailers, utility vehicles, and lawn equipment. Most drivers who encounter Carlisle tires are not looking for a premium product. They are replacing a failed trailer tire on a tight budget or buying what the trailer dealer installed as standard equipment. The reasonable assumption is that a tire labeled for a specific application has been engineered to handle that application safely under normal conditions. The NHTSA complaint record for Carlisle trailer tires challenges that assumption. The complaint database contains multiple documented reports of Carlisle trailer tires failing through sudden sidewall blowout. Not at the end of their service life, not from overloading, but at loads and speeds. Within the tire's stated specifications with inflation pressures recorded as correct at the time of the incident. A sidewall blowout on a trailer being towed at highway speed is not the same event as a flat tire on a passenger car. A trailer blowout at 60 miles per hour creates an immediate and violent fishtailing response that can pull the tow vehicle across lane lines before the driver can react. Carlisle trailer tires are frequently the lowest cost option available, both at point of sale on new trailers and as replacements. Trailer dealers install them because they reduce the price of the unit. That price advantage disappears entirely at the first blowout, and the total cost of a blowout event, including towing, tire replacement, trailer damage, and the potential cost of an accident, far exceeds any savings accumulated at the point of original purchase. If you own a trailer currently running Carlisle tires, check the sidewall date code. The 4-digit DOT date code tells you the week and year the tire was manufactured. Any trailer tire more than 5 years old, regardless of how much tread remains, should be replaced. Rubber degrades from the inside out, and a tire that looks acceptable on the outside can have compromised internal structure that only reveals itself under highway load. Falken ZX series. Falken is a Japanese brand that manufactures genuinely good tires. The Wild Peak all-terrain line receives consistent, strong recommendations from independent reviewers and delivers legitimate performance in off-road and mixed surface use. This is what makes the Falken ZX series the most important brand on this entire list. Not because the ZX is the worst tire here in absolute terms, but because it creates the most predictable and most preventable trap for an informed buyer. The Falken ZX series, specifically the CE321 and related performance and touring all-season models, consistently underperforms in independent structured testing while carrying the brand reputation built entirely by a different product. Multiple automotive media comparison tests place the ZX CE321 and similar ZX models below the field average in wet braking by margins measured between 8 and 15% across different sizes and test conditions. Dry performance scores are competitive for the price. The wet braking and wet handling performance scores are not. The compound used across the ZX lineup is different from the compound in Falken's off-road products, and it does not match the wet weather grip characteristics of mid-range competitors from Hankook, Nexen, or General Tire at similar price points. Falken uses different engineering priorities for different product lines. The Wild Peak is built for traction and durability in demanding conditions. The ZX is built for price competitiveness in the mainstream market. Those are different targets and they produce different tires. The purchasing trap is this. A driver researches Falken tires, reads consistently positive reviews for the Wild Peak, and concludes that Falken makes good tires. They then select the ZX because it is cheaper and assume the quality transfers across the brand. It does not. The brand name is shared. The performance is not. Check the specific model on an independent test database before you buy, not the brand name. That 90-second check is the entire difference between the #1 brand on this list and a tire that will actually protect you. Have you ever had a tire fail on one of these brands? Drop it in the comments. Next video, 10 tire brands that actually lasted 70,000 miles. Thanks for watching.